What's been happening in the Donbass region? Since our 2nd of February 2021 episode of the Insight podcast, we've continued to monitor what has been happening in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. And there have been some interesting developments within and outside of not just the Donbass region, but the country as well. Prior analysis on the conflict assessed that beginning from spring 2021, tensions in the Donbass region would increase, with increases in ceasefire and withdrawal violations, which would feature the use of armour and artillery. Now, since February, fighting on the outskirts of Donetsk city has increased, along with areas between Avdiivka, Yakovlivka, and Yasnovata. Skirmishes, indirect fire, and heavy weapons fire have been occurring on the western and the southwestern outskirts of Donetsk city. Fighting appears to have intensified in the east of Mariupol as well. Previously, activity in this area was concentrated largely between Vodyan, Leninsk, and Pakuzy. But with the onset of spring, such activity has not just been continuing in this area, but appears to actually have expanded north as well, reaching up to the southern edges of Chermalik. There have also been indications of artillery fire among these ceasefire violations, particularly what appears to be 122mm artillery fire. In addition, activity appears to have intensified in the north of Donetsk Oblast, with numerous incidents occurring on the northwest outskirts of Holivka. Activity has also increased to the east in Popasna in nearby Luhansk Oblast. While casualty figures are hard to accurately determine, information from open source reports does indicate an increase in military and even civilian casualties. Withdrawal violations appear to have been occurring in the same areas as noted in prior analysis, but the number of violations appear to have been increasing. Several of these violations have featured the multiple types of artillery and armour on both sides that have been in prior reporting. We continue to see mentions of 2S1 Vozdikas, 2S3 Akatsias, T-64 and T-72 main battle tanks, BM-21 and BM-27 multiple barrel rocket launchers, but there has also been the addition of 2S19 M-Star-S self-propelled artillery guns. There are two other developments which are worth pointing out. A recent withdrawal violation occurred in Makivka on the northeast outskirts of Donetsk city. A 2S1 Vozdika was sighted in this area. Now, prior withdrawal violations have not occurred to this close to Donetsk city, especially on the Russian side. Finally, the OSCE's Special Monitoring Mission patrols have experienced growing issues when conducting UAV missions over the same areas where ceasefire violations have been occurring. There have been multiple occasions where the UAVs have crashed, required to conduct an emergency landing, or have been prevented from even taking off due to signal interference, which is often assessed to come from electronic jamming. There have also been numerous incidents outside of the Donbass region and even Ukraine since February. In particular, political rhetoric from Moscow relating to the Donbass conflict has become more hostile in recent weeks. And coinciding with this rhetoric has been various indications of Russian forces being deployed closer to the Russia-Ukraine border. We've been seeing reports of Russian tanks, artillery, surface-to-air missile systems, and even SS-26 short-range ballistic missile systems being sighted in Voronezh Oblast, just to the north of Ukraine's border. There have also been several reports of Russian forces being transported down to the east and southeast throughout Rostov Oblast, Krasnodar Krai, and the Crimea Peninsula. Available open source reports have shown tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, artillery, and logistics assets being transported throughout these areas. And several reports have indicated they are heading towards the Russia-Ukraine border. Furthermore, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions from other nations appear to have been increasing in the area as well. We've noticed increased activity from the US Air Force, the US Navy, and the Royal Air Force over the Black Sea. There have been several flights of RQ-4B Global Hawk UAVs, RC-135 Rivet Joint, and P-8 Poseidon aircraft. Finally, Last week saw a number of members of the pro-Russian Donetsk People's Republic visit members of the Ba'ath Party in Damascus, Syria, or often referred to as the Assad regime. According to reporting, this visit resulted in several agreements being made between the Ba'ath Party members and these leaders of the pro-Russian militants in Donetsk. Now, open source reporting doesn't provide much detail on the specific agreements, but it does beg the question of why are pro-Russia separatists meeting with Russian allies this far outside of Ukraine at this time? We're considering all of this. Well, what could all this mean? Well, recent activity has confirmed prior analysis of an increase in tensions occurring from spring 2021. The increase in the ceasefire violations are becoming more intense, and we're also seeing more areas of high activity. The increase of withdrawal violations, the hindering of SMM UAVs, and the buildup of forces on both sides suggests that armor and self-propelled artillery will soon be added and further intensify the fighting in Donbass. However, neither side appears to be ready or willing to actually conduct a push to try and push the other side back at the moment. Both sides know they are being monitored by external parties, and with the various assets both sides have been bringing into or near the region, if either side were to attempt to carry out an offensive, it will probably result in causing mutually assured destruction. So for the time being, the conflict will likely intensify on the front lines in the Donbass region, particularly in Donetsk city. However, the incidents occurring outside of the Donbass region do have potential to see the conflict escalate beyond the current front lines. Well, that's all we have for the time being. But if you would like further context or background on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, do check out our podcast on our YouTube channel. And keep an eye on our social media, where we'll continue to monitor and post updates on the situation. Thanks very much.